What's going on, guys? It's Horse Beef here, and today I'm going to be listing the dark horse of every division in the UFC, at least every division in the UFC that matters. So even though, of course, right, commonly known, there are unlimited genders at this point in 2024, but one of these genders will be excluded from this list. So just, come to your own conclusion on that one, who I've excluded here. It might not be so obvious, but let's just get into the video here. Right? Just starting off with 125ers. And my personal dark horse for 125ers is Ray Soraya. I think this man is absolutely crafty as hell on the ground. I'm not sure if he trains with Tatsuro Taira, but these up-and-coming Japanese grapplers are just so unorthodox with their techniques and the way that he uses his striking to set up his grappling. And his fight last time out was extremely high level on the ground and just very unique. And I love watching Ray Soraya. I wasn't overly keen on the man when I first covered him, when I spoke about undefeated UFC fighters, but I feel like now I'm sold on the dude. He's very high level. His striking is decent too, but he's only 22 years old. So I know Tatsuro Taira has all the hype in the world, but Ray Soraya doesn't even have a fraction of all the hype that Tatsuro Taira does. And I get it, right? Ray Soraya hasn't really fought any ranked opponents, while Tatsuro has proved it in the rankings, so it makes sense why he would have more title implications under his name. But I do feel like in the next 2 to 3 years, Ray Soraya will not only be ranked, but I believe that he could be touted as a next title challenger. Now, let's say Tatsuro Taira at that point is holding the title. Imagine a clash between Taira and Soraya. I feel like that would just be a beautiful matchup between two very high-level Japanese fighters with some of the best grappling in the game and unorthodox grappling. And I appreciate unorthodox technique. Ray Soraya brings it. And I feel like as he progresses in his career, the man will become an absolute demon and potential title challenger, in my opinion. And then we get to Bantamweight. And for me, it's another Japanese contender, and that is Nakamura. I feel like he's extremely high level. The man is a supreme athlete, fast as hell on the feet, throws bombs, and has an extremely high level wrestling pedigree. I feel like he has all the potential in the world to capture UFC gold one day. And these Japanese fighters, they have a different kind of mentality. I forget what the word is, but essentially, like, when they've dishonored themselves or their family, whatever, and they fall on their sword. I feel like these Japanese fighters just really do embody that, and I feel like it's in the Japanese culture. If there are any Japanese people watching this video, let me know if that's true, if there is some truth to that, because that's just the way I feel. Like watching Rinya Nakamura's post-fight speech after his last fight, the man was so disappointed in himself, almost brought to tears, even though he won the fight with a broken hand, and it was all just because the crowd wasn't overly entertained by the fight, even though it was a very high level technical fight. So the crowd was just wild in there. I don't understand what they were seeing to be booing. But Rinya Nakamura is a serious contender. I understand that the obvious pick here is Peyton Talbot, but I feel like he's already being touted as a potential title challenger and a serious contender, while Rinya Nakamura, I feel like, has fallen by the wayside. Match those two up right now. My personal pick would be Rinya Nakamura to get it done against Peyton Talbot. That's my personal opinion. I think he's the next one up at 135, and one day I believe he will have a belt wrapped around his waist. And now we're talking about 145ers, and it's gotta be Nathaniel Wood. It really does have to be Nathaniel Wood. After his recent performance against Daniel Pineda, I am fully sold on Nathaniel Wood. I was already pretty high on the man even before this fight. Right, I always noticed he was super well-rounded, good grappler, and underrated boxing. He always had very underrated hands. I feel like in the discussion of best boxers in the UFC, I understand that Nathaniel Wood was never going to be at the very top, but people don't even bring him up in that conversation. And I didn't even bring him up when I was covering the best boxers in the UFC on my most recent tier list, right, covering that. So even I was underrating him. But at this point, man, there's just no overlooking him. I feel like at 145. He has the sauce. He has the recipe to be a future champ, right? He's high level in all areas of MMA, and it's just hard to overlook him anymore. The guy has great hands, great grappling. It's just tough to overlook him, right? You can't do it anymore. I understand that English fighters, English athletes are generally pretty overrated, in my opinion, because English fans are just focused on geographical factors, right? If you're from England, you are the next big thing in this world and you can do no wrong. But in the case of Nathaniel Wood, he's not getting all the hype, but I feel like he actually deserves it in this case. I mean, do I think it's likely that he'll challenge for a title someday? Not exactly likely, because 145 is a pretty stacked division, and ultimately when you have fighters like Max Holloway, Alexander Volkanovski, and Ilia Topuria at the top of a division, right? It's hard to really see anyone capturing UFC gold, but of any of these unranked fighters, I feel like Nathaniel Wood, in some time, maybe in the next year or so, I feel like he'll fight a ranked opponent in his next fight, but it won't surprise me for him to crack the top 5 of 145 within the next year or so. He's that high level. I'm very high on Nathaniel Wood right now. Oh, and then we come into 155, and the dark horse for me is an obvious one. That's Ludovic Klein. This dude is a nightmare matchup for Islam Makhachev. I truly believe that. Last time out, he fought Thiago Moises and displayed some of the craziest hip dexterity I've ever seen in a fight. Like his hips are crazy. This dude is very similar to Rafael Fiziev in that sense. He's able to get his hips down so fast and get his hips up very quickly to land kicks from close range, mid-range, long range. This dude is a master technician on the feet, sharp striker, southpaw as well. So if he was to fight Islam Makhachev tomorrow, right, you give, sorry, not tomorrow, but you give them both a lengthy camp, I believe that Ludovic Klein, with his current skill set, would give Islam Makhachev serious problems, because on the feet, I believe he'd be able to match him there. I can't exactly say at this point that anyone can outstrike Islam on the feet, because of course the takedown threat is so elite and high level, right? You don't want Islam Makhachev on top of you, and Ludovic Klein would be no different, right? Despite the fact that he was able to fight off the takedown attempts very effectively against Thiago Moises, Islam Makhachev is just different gravy. So of course, I can't claim that. But if Ludovic Klein was able to keep the fight on the feet, then there's a chance in my mind that he's able to finish Islam Makhachev, right? Or at least outstrike him and fight his way to a decision. Of course, but we haven't seen him do it against any real ranked competition yet, like high-level ranked competition. So, of course, I do want to see him against maybe someone like a Mateusz Gamrot. I feel like that is the kind of test that you would like to see him up against before picking him against Islam Makhachev. But at the end of the day, man, the eye test is exactly that. And what I see when I watch Ludovic Klein is an absolute technician on the feet. As I've said, love the man, extremely high level. I'm very high on him. Like I said about Nathaniel Wood, I'm so high on Ludovic Klein right now. This dude is a future champion, and he's being so overlooked. It's crazy. And next up is going to be 170, of course, in the natural order of things. And I have picked Carlos Prates. I feel like he is such a dangerous striker that he can get it done at the top of the division. Of course, it is a problem that at welterweight you do have a lot of grapplers as you climb up that weight class. But for me, man, Carlos Prates is one of the most dangerous strikers at 170 right now. He's a tough matchup for anybody. I mean, like Charles Radke was being touted as like one of the next like upcoming stars at 170, right? Like he dropped the F-bomb and everyone was going crazy about him, understandably, of course. But then Carlos Prates goes out there, puts a clinic on him, and then finishes him with a beautiful knee to the body. Now, of course, Prates does suffer from certain issues, right? Like defensively, of course. Like he's so good as an offensive striker that sometimes his defense does leave a little bit to be desired, and he does leave his chin up in the air and get caught in the middle of combinations in that. But he's just so dangerous and has so much stopping power, and very varied in the way that he attacks his opponents, where he goes to the legs, goes to the body, and of course goes up top, but he mixes it up so well on the feet and has such a variety of tools. This man could be the next big thing at 170, I believe, and he's not really getting a lot of hype. Of course, right, he's only had 2 fights in the UFC, but I would like to see him, of course, show that against a ranked opponent. And when he does, and if he is able to get it done against a ranked opponent, there's no doubt in my mind that Carlos Prates could be like one of these next big Brazilians in the UFC. I don't know if I would pick him to beat Bilal right now. In fact, I definitely wouldn't. But time will tell. But for me, man, Carlos Prates, of all these unranked fighters, he is the most likely for me to become a future UFC champion. And at 185, it's one of my current favorite fighters in the UFC. That's RoboCop, dude. Gregory Rodriguez is such an animal. I believe this personally. If you put him up against DDP right now, right? Let's say Israel Adesanya dropped out due to injury or something, or he grew a tit or something like that, right? And Gregory Rodriguez had to step in. I personally believe that he could potentially get it done against Dricus du Plessis, because I think stylistically he is a problem for everybody at middleweight. This dude is like prime Jacare reincarnated. I know Jacare has not passed yet, gratefully, right? Love me some Jacare Souza. But Gregory Rodriguez is like a regen of a prime Jacare. Walks forward, tough as nails, right? I think he even probably is tougher than Jacare. Guy has a chin on him, super tough. Like I know he got put out by that little fucking stocky motherfucker. What's his name? Bruno Ferreira. He got put up by Bruno Ferreira. I get that. But the dude is tough as nails, and Bruno Ferreira hits like a truck. So there's no shame in that exactly. And since then, he's bounced back so well and looked even better. He has really, really underrated hands. Power, right? The guy throws hammers, super high-level grappling, great jiu-jitsu. Gregory Rodriguez is the real deal. He really is, and it won't surprise me if he's ranked within the top 10 in his next couple of fights. And hopefully the UFC sees what I see and just gives him a title shot at some point if he, of course, earns it. And I believe with the skill set that he possesses, this man will earn a title shot. And I think if he's given the chance, of everyone I've listed here, of all of these on this list, for me, RoboCop is the most likely to become a champion in the future. Now, that's just me. Like, I know he looks like he's about 50, but I think he's in his early 30s, so he's really in his prime at the end of the day. And I just can't get enough of RoboCop. I love watching him fight. Cannot wait to watch him fight next. And like I said, if he's put up against Dricus du Plessis today, I'm picking Gregory Rodriguez to take him out. Now at 205, I have, for me, what is the obvious pick, and that's Zhang Minyang. This dude has a 100% finish rate for all of his wins in the first round. So not a single one of his wins has gone outside of the first round, which is crazy, right? His first fight in the UFC against Ribeiro, beautiful 1-2-3 combo, right on the chin, crisp, fast for that weight class too, and just has bombs, right? The man throws absolute hammers, hits like a truck, and if anyone's going to dethrone somebody like Alex Pereira, it's got to be somebody who can match him on the feet. And not saying that Zhang Minyang can match him, and I personally believe that he won't even be fighting in the UFC by the time Zhang Minyang actually gets that title shot. To be honest, Alex Pereira is getting up there in age, and Zhang is 25 years old, I believe, right? So he's very young in his career. And all of his losses, I think he has about 6 losses, and all of them, or most of them at the very least, came very early in his career. And he started his career extremely early. I believe his first fight was when he was like 16 years old, right? So of course, when you start your career that early, you are going to lose some fights, right? You're not even fully developed as a human being yet. So I have no doubt that grown men were able to beat him at that time. But since he's developed, man, physically, the dude is an animal. And I have zero doubt that at some point in the, I don't know about near future, but I would say in like the next 3 to 4 years, if he's able to continue picking up wins like that, this dude will be a front runner to take that 205 belt from me. I have zero doubt about that. Of all unranked fighters at 205, he is the one who impresses me the most. And I'm excited for his next fight. This dude is the real deal. And at heavyweight, man, I'm choosing Mick Parkin. Now, he might be the obvious choice. In fact, I think he probably is the obvious choice, right? Undefeated, 4-0 in the UFC now. He loves a first-round finish. And in his last fight, dude looked pretty good on the feet. He looked really good on the feet. Crisp hands. I like the look of Mick Parkin, although I don't think anyone is a real dark horse, because a dark horse would suggest that they can capture UFC gold while being overlooked or counted out, right? But I don't think anybody is really necessarily a dark horse while Tom Aspinall is holding that belt. I think he just beats everybody at heavyweight right now, including John Jones. I really do think so. Tom Aspinall is just the real deal. But Mick Parkin is young, although I do think he could be pushed pretty fast because heavyweight, as per usual, is pretty stale. Like, there's not really any excitement other than Tom Aspinall at heavyweight right now. But for me, Mick Parkin, like of anyone who could possibly be considered a dark horse in the division, for me, it is Mick Parkin because he does show great, well-rounded skills. I don't know if he's on the same level as Tom Aspinall, but at 28 years old, man, in a couple of years, maybe he develops a little bit more and can get closer to that level. I still don't know if it would be enough, but it's possible. So for me, the dark horse of heavyweight is Mick Parkin, although he might not even really meet the criteria of what a dark horse is. But I don't give a shit. I make the rules here, and I'm picking Mick Parkin, and those are all of my dark horse picks. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think about my choices, whether you agree, whether you disagree. Just let me know. Whether you think I'm a casual, of course, as always, let me know. And any other future videos you guys would like me to create for you and push out, topics to cover, whatever it may be. As always, let me know in the comment section below. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.